Am I the a-hole for telling my nephew the truth that no one in the family likes him? This involves me, 25 male, my sister Diana, 31 female, and her son Darius, 10 male. I get along with my sister Diana fine, but I won't pretend I like Darius. I think he's an entitled brat who has gotten away with crap for too many times. I don't think Diana's ever reprimanded him, and every time the little turd acts up, Diana makes excuses for him. He's already been suspended from school for stealing. He's a bully to all his cousins, and I know for a fact no one in my family likes him at all. Both of my parents cannot stand him. My mother, a woman who could find a love in her heart to babysit a honey badger, refuses to watch Darius at all because of his behavior. My father will take all of the grandkids out to fish every few months except for Darius, because he's too tempted to throw him out into the lake and drive off. His words, not mine. On Monday, I got a call from my sister who panicked because she got called into work. Darius was out of school and her babysitter was not available. No one else in the family will watch Darius, so I told her to drop him off and I would watch him. It was a nightmare. Darius was mad he had to spend his day off at my place. He refused to do anything I offered, made a mess in my bathroom, harassed my dog, and had a tantrum because I would not let him use my work computer to play games. By lunchtime, I was frustrated beyond all belief. I made him mac and cheese and he demanded I take him to Wendy's. He refused to eat and eventually dumped his bowl of food on my floor. At that, I just kinda lost it. I didn't yell or get aggressive at all. I just sighed and asked him if he realized that everyone in the family literally despised him. I explained that he was at my house because Grandma and Grandpa cannot stand him, and in fact refused to let him come to their house because he acts like a little turd. I won't lie, I got pretty brutal. He started crying and locked himself in my bathroom until I came out and sat and watched TV till my sister came and got him. I told her what happened, and I and her got into a massive argument as well. She called me cruel and I told her that she is to blame, and he would have learned eventually. My family split on this. My dad thinks the little turd deserved it, while my siblings have mixed opinions. My mother has told me she's staying out of this, but if I feel the need to apologize, do it and move on. What do you people think? Edit. A little info. We've talked to Diana about this before. My parents had her down and told her they will not watch Darius because of how he behaved, and that she needs to do something else. We've all had talks with her about him bullying his cousins. She has done nothing. Not the a-hole in my opinion. He's still young enough to change if he wants to. If everyone keeps the truth from him, he'll try going through life being an awful human, and will get some seriously rude awakenings from people who aren't family. People are more likely to change if you point out that their behavior makes it hard to be around them. If you say everyone in your family hates you, they're more likely to have unfortunate outcomes that are not changing that behavior. It might be just as cruel for this, not the a-hole. He's gonna have to learn one way or another and his mother isn't doing anything. Maybe the reality check will help? I doubt it. He's probably too far gone at this point. Don't bother watching him again. The mother got herself into this mess. She should get herself out. You are 25 years old. He is 10. Is he behaving like a jerk because your sister has no idea how to parent? Yes. Should you enforce boundaries with your nephew when he is in your care? Absolutely. But that's not what you did. You bullied a child. Your behavior is awful and everyone in the family despises when you act this way. It makes it hard to be around you. It means that you are left out. It's very, very different than everyone in the family despises you. You can change your behavior. Telling someone how their behavior impacts how others feel can be a great catalyst for change. Telling someone, especially a literal child, that they themselves are hated by their family is demoralizing, demeaning, cruel, and generally does nothing to encourage change. Clearly, you are an emergency babysitter, and you are still very young and likely not trained to deal with a problem child in a calm manner, but this was out of line and harmful. You need to speak to your sister. Apologize to your nephew if you can, and then explain what you meant to address was his behavior, not him. Because there are plenty of studies that show that kids who feel that they're unloved do not improve, and there are a lot of horrific outcomes to that. Everyone sucks here, yes, but bullying a child, you're the a-hole. Telling someone the hard truth is not bullying. My God, I was bullied constantly as a kid, and even I realized that it could have been much worse. How peaceful was your childhood that you think someone being honest, even if it's mean, is bullying? Next story. Am I the a-hole for not asking my child to give up her room? My fiancé and I are moving in together. We decided that she should be the one to move in with us, since my home is bigger and in a better area. I have a 14-year-old daughter and she has two daughters who are 14 and 16. I live in a 2-bedroom home. A few years ago, I finished the basement and added a bathroom to it and gave it to my daughter. The other room is my office that I was planning to turn into a bedroom for my fiancé's daughters. It's a small room, but it's nice, and it can fit 2 beds, especially if we add a bunk bed instead of 2 twin beds. And it doesn't have a bathroom, but we don't live in a palace, so it is not that far away from the bathroom. My fiancé and I have been talking about the room situation and we don't seem to be able to agree on anything. She thinks I'm an a-hole for planning to let my daughter have the entire basement for herself and force hers to share a small room. I think this has been my daughter's room for years. She decorated it with her mom and therefore she shouldn't have to give it up. Obviously her family's on her side and my family's on my side, so we want other opinions as well. Halt. Hard stop and do not go farther with this relationship. We know you will, of course, because you don't see that this is the beginning of a lifelong problem. The only way for this relationship to survive is to move into a different house with equivalent bedrooms for the kids. What would that be? Not sure, but I know it isn't your current setup. You are in a completely no-win situation and you will be the a-hole either to your daughter or your fiancé and her children. Yeah, I just want to weigh in as someone whose parent did this. Moved into a 3-bedroom house with 3 kids. I haven't spoken to them in months, and I don't see them in holidays. It caused a lot of resentment. You're the a-hole for moving 5 people into a 2-bedroom home with a basement. I read a comment where you said this house is suitable for you all. No, it's not. The fact you're even having this argument with your significant other proves it's not suitable for you all. This was your daughter's home first. Making her share or give up her basement room will cause her to resent all of you, and would be vastly unfair to displace her in her own home. However, squeezing 2 teenage girls into a tiny room is also an a-hole move. Your home is not suitable at all. Although question, is your bedroom bigger than the smaller room? If so, give up your room to the incoming 2 teenagers and you and your significant other share the smaller room. If not, get a bigger home. Maybe they can't afford a bigger home at the moment. Pockets aren't endlessly deep. I do agree this needed more planning and forethought from OP. This is a no-win a-hole situation here for him. But shoulda, woulda, coulda right now isn't going to fix his situation, especially if moving isn't an option right now. Swapping his and his partner's room to give his stepdaughters a bigger space might be the only good compromise right now, but will still cause tension. Maybe doing that and calling a family meeting and planning for the move and laying it all out on the table is best, though a soft Yorty a-hole for the poor planning is fair. Coming from a smaller home myself and never moving, I understand having to make the best of a lame duck. Then they can't afford to move in together. I was fully not the a-hole until I started reading your comments. You have already made up your mind. You don't think your daughter should give up her room. Fair enough. But you also don't want to come up with another plan. I think you should give up the master bedroom and give that room to the 2 girls to share. And you take the small bedroom. Or move somewhere else. It's not fair to take what was your daughter's and just give it to her step-siblings. But it's also not okay to not at least try to make it even for them. I think they need to call up the whole thing. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my dad I won't go anywhere with him if his wife is there? My 38 female parents got divorced about 14 years ago after my father had been having an affair with his current wife Brenda for 5 years. Not only this, but he was absolutely horrible to my mom in the process and really screwed her over. I was angry with him and went no contact with him for 4 years after. My grandfather on my dad's side before he passed away told me to try and make amends with my father. As I loved him very much, I agreed to try. I slowly tried to build a relationship back with him and things have been okay, but strained because trusting him has been hard. I also don't like Brenda. I did try, but we have nothing in common. She's a very gossipy person who talks trash about so many people, and I'm more interested in world events and science and psychology. I lived nearby until about 3 years ago and made an effort to see them once a month. I have now moved a 4-hour drive away and can only get up once or twice a year to visit. On one visit a couple years back, Brenda started talking about my half-sister from my mom, saying if she had raised her, sister wouldn't have had all the problems she did, and that my mom was wrong in how she managed her mental illness. Without going into as much detail, my sister has BPD and was very hard to manage in her childhood, and after years of trying to get her help and her running away, my mom agreed to let her go live with other family as she asked. It was either that or she was going to live in a group home most likely. I snapped at Brenda, saying she wasn't there and she has no idea what she was talking about. I was young, but I remember all the pain my family was going through and how hard it was for Mom to let her go. Since then, every time we have gone out together, Brenda refused to talk to me. She won't respond if I say hello, she stares at her phone, and talks to my dad as if I'm not there. I ask him to say something about it because it's rude and uncomfortable, and he just says he can't tell her what to do and we need to work it out. I told him if that's the case, I will only visit with him and not if she's around. He says I'm being dramatic, and if Brenda isn't invited, he won't come either. I told him if he won't leave her behind, then he won't be seeing me anymore either. I love him, but I'm not going to let her disrespect me anymore. He's making me feel like I'm being an a-hole because I want to see him, but I don't want to let her treat me this way. Editing to add, for those asking why Dad doesn't come visit me, I live on my mom's property and would never even consider having him here, let alone Brenda. Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. Don't let people into your life that treat you poorly, family or not. Looks like it is time for Opie to go back to no contact with Dad and his wife. Not the a-hole. OMG. So Brenda behaves in a horrible way towards you, but your dad can't be bothered to do the right thing and see you without her? You don't need that level of BS in your life. You're not the a-hole. Your dad and Brenda are massive ones though. I mean, the dad carried on a 5-year-long affair on his wife. It wasn't really a debate if he was an a-hole. Not the a-hole. How dare Brenda talk? Who does she think she is? Your father seems to have made his choice. It's time for you to choose. I don't understand how he can choose Brenda over you, his own child. I just want her to be more respectful to me, and even if it's just small talk, to not pretend I'm not there. He said I'm just acting like a victim, and I said no, I'm just not going to be here. Dude, you are a victim of a father who chose his lust over his family and who does it again now. You have the right to act like that. Last story. Am I the a-hole for banning my girlfriend from bringing my friend's ex over to my house? Recently, a friend of mine, Anthony, and his wife, Carly, went through a pretty nasty divorce. They had a child together about 1.5+ years ago, and things just weren't working between them. There were some issues with attraction, he felt it was getting monotonous. He was interested in pursuing other relationships, and ending up finding a spark with a then co-worker who's now his girlfriend, and the whole thing was just a mess. She did end up getting child support and alimony, but there were issues with how his family structures their trust, which meant she left a lot on the table. Still, even now, it's not like she's actually below the poverty line or anything, so it's whatever. I didn't think we would be seeing much more of her, since she's my friend's wife who we weren't particularly close with, and there's no real reason why we would need to have any more contact than him, given that she was his wife. However, my girlfriend has been getting together and commiserating with her for some reason, and now their conflict, which I have deliberately kept away from, is now bleeding into my life too. My girlfriend keeps bringing up how unfair what my friend did was, how he's barely paying anything while they struggle, etc., etc., despite me saying that it's none of our business repeatedly. She's constantly passive-aggressive towards Anthony, even though he hasn't done anything to her. She's even brought Carly over while me and Anthony were hanging out, saying she's her friend, and she's allowed to have guests. As you can guess, this has led to some heated arguments. She's glad to know he's having fun eating edibles and playing video games with children. Yes, she even referred to me and our other friend as children to our face. We're both 22, while Carly's exhausted taking care of their child alone, etc. Now, keep in mind, this is my house. My parents gifted me this condo when I graduated, and I pay all the utility bills. I'm letting my girlfriend stay here because her roommate didn't want to renew the lease. She's trying to frame this like I'm not letting her see her friends, which is absurd. She's clearly 100% in the wrong here, right? Am I the a-hole, or is she for trying to bring this woman into our home? So, your friend dumped his wife when life got monotonous after the birth of his child. He fought hard to make sure that she and his child got the minimum of what he had to pay them. Your girlfriend thought this stunk and isn't afraid to say so, while you go hang out with your bro. You're the a-hole. Find better friends, and learn about how to stand up for what's right from your girlfriend. Gentle you're the a-hole to girlfriend because she shouldn't bring ex over while a-hole is actually there. That is not always a safe move. He lasted a whole 1.5 months after his child was born. My friend is a cheater and my girlfriend knows it and is upset I keep that type of company. There, I fixed the title for you. You're the a-hole. So, you're on the side of the guy who got bored with his wife and left her to date a co-worker after she had a baby? And you think you get to decide who your live-in girlfriend is friends with and invites over? How would you react if she told you to not invite Anthony over because she's really uncomfortable to see you supporting someone with that view for relationships? I mean, I'd be unhappy if my husband was pro dump your wife and newborn for a new side piece. So why should you expect her to be okay with your questionable friendship? In other words, you're the a-hole. You're the a-hole. My house that my parents bought me. Also, your friend thought having a wife/child was monotonous, so he cheated with a coworker. He now pays limited child support while she struggles to raise the child. If I were your girlfriend, I would be very aware of what you consider none of your business. Also, that you don't consider it odd that he can come over anytime and it's whatever, but you can't have her friend over. If it's truly none of your business and you're not taking sides, either should be fully welcome. Am I the a-hole for getting upset my boyfriend wouldn't take me to the ER? My boyfriend, male 20, and I, female 21, live together at my parents'. I have been having some pretty bad UTI symptoms. I went to a walk-in clinic 2 weeks ago when I had clear signs of infection, and they sent me home and said I tested negative. I woke up a week later with extreme hip pain. I spent all day on a heating pad and crying. 2 more days passed and then I woke up with the worst abdominal pain I've ever had. I began screaming and called my mom. She says to wake up my boyfriend and tell him to take me to the nearby hospital, 7 minutes, that is small, or one that's 35 minutes away that would properly handle what was going on. I wake him up and he says to just sleep it off. At this point, I'm in tears. He says no and alludes that I'm overreacting, which I've been known to do, and it's probably nothing because I tested negative. I feel as if I've been stabbed, and this is not the type of pain I can wait out. I even compare how I'm feeling to a possible bladder rupture because of how awful I felt. Finally, he agrees to take me, but only if I let him sleep for 2 more hours. I understand that if it was some ungodly time, but it was currently 11:30 a.m. and I went to bed at 3 a.m. after playing video games. I explained that I can't wait that long and have no one else home to drive me. He turns over and lays back down. An hour goes by of the worst pain of my life, and I decide I will just try to suck it up and drive myself to the nearby ER. I woke him up one more time, and I explained that I cannot wait any longer. I need to go now because something is wrong. He snaps and says give him 1 more hour, then lays back down. I storm off in my car and make it about 2 blocks before I realize I forgot my wallet, and I was in no state to drive as I was literally in so much pain I couldn't focus. I come home and lay down in bed beside him as I scream out in pain. He says that I know it takes time for him to wake up, and I have no right to get mad. I barely utter out please take me to the one 7 minutes away because I'm scared. I remind him that I've driven 2 hours at 3 a.m. and no sleep just to pick him up from the hospital, and spent the whole summer helping him recover from his injury, including bathing and wiping him because he needed me. He argues some more, then finally at 2:30 p.m. takes me to the hospital 7 minutes away. It turns out that I had an advanced UTI and infection in my bladder and kidneys, as well as a kidney stone that was infected. I felt bad as I recalled my attitude that morning, but I was in a lot of pain. I do recall saying things like, fine, just don't help then, and you're being a prick, in rebuttal to his attitude. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Past the kidney stone, past the boyfriend. Not the a-hole. You need rid of all these. Screaming and crying in pain? A person that can ignore that is not the one for you. I take it cab etc. weren't an option. You can't rely on this guy, so you need to have alternatives. Nope. Super small town, so no Uber etc. He really was my only option at the time to get the care I needed, and he knew that. Babe, dump him to the curb, and I don't say that often. He is not a keeper. You will have to drive to give birth alone, raise kids alone. My hubby had those kinds of pains and it was his appendix. If I had waited, it would have ruptured. Just run for your life. Quite literally. Because if they had kid, OP must also raise the adult child too. Also, someone who's refusing to help you to go to ER is something you must stay away from. You were in pain and asked to go to the hospital. Why your partner didn't hop up like there was a fire under him is concerning. Sounds like you need a new boyfriend. One that actually cares about your well-being. Yep, this. First, not the a-hole. Then, red flags. This boy has shown you who he is, and how he doesn't value you or your health. Kick that dude to the curb. You not only can do better, you must do better. First of all, I hope this is a troll, because can such a bad boyfriend exist? Dump the whole man. At least that's what I would do. What kind of person could ignore their partner who is in this much pain? Also, you said you are known to overreact. Is this something you've actually noticed about yourself? Have people in your life told you that you tend to do that? Or was it just your boyfriend? Mostly boyfriend. After posting this, it's kind of starting to make sense why he keeps cheating and I can't get him to stop. Because it's starting to become clear he doesn't care. He's cheating too? If you stay in this relationship, you're the a-hole to yourself. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for exposing and embarrassing my brother's girlfriend? So I'll keep this as brief as I can. My brother started dating this lady, Jessica, in January. The three of us live in the same city, about 3 hours from me and my brother's parents/extended family. So until recently, I was the only member of his family Jessica had met. One of my brother's favorite things to eat is this sweet potato and red pepper soup I make. The relevant info here is that the soup features onions as an ingredient. Not enough that you'd eat it and go, oh wow, this sure tastes like onions. But enough that if you skipped them, it wouldn't taste right. I make this soup for him approximately once a week, and Jessica has come to love it as much as he does, without ever mentioning any issues after eating it. So the issue. My brother, Jessica, and I traveled to Brother Dai's hometown for our grandmother's 90th birthday celebration this week. Our mom was catering it, specifically with traditional Indian foods, since that's where she and our grandmother are from. However, when we arrived and I offered to help mom with the prep work, I noticed she was making several additional dishes like chicken nuggets, chips and finger sandwiches, and was keeping them well separate from the rest of the food. I asked what that was about, and she casually said, I'm just making sure that Jessica can have something to eat with her allergies. I said I didn't know she had allergies, and Mom said, yes, she says she's severely allergic to onion, garlic, and coriander. If you're familiar with Indian cuisine at all, you get why it would be an issue for someone with these allergies. Except, Jessica eats my soup. All the time. It has onions, and it's never caused her a reaction. The part where I may have been an a-hole is I said this to my mom, which, if you're familiar with Indian mothers, you may understand how that could have been a bad move. She didn't kick off or act aggressive, but she did confront Jessica about lying and ask if there was something wrong with her cooking. Jessica just got kind of red and stammer, and eventually admitted that she just doesn't like all that curry stuff, but thought saying she was allergic would be less awkward. Mom got pissed off because she'd taken such efforts to keep everything separate and whatever to avoid cross-contamination. Jessica got mad because Mom was mad, and my brother got mad at me for saying anything in the first place. Everything got rather awkward, and Jessica ended up not even coming to the party. They now haven't spoken to me all week, except for my brother telling me I'm a gossipy a-hole, and that I shouldn't have said anything, which, yeah, I kind of get. Was I an a-hole? I didn't intend to cause drama. It was kinda just a surprised, oh that's weird. My soup with onions and doesn't make her ill. I feel bad for ruining her first impression with our family and embarrassing her. You didn't expose her maliciously. You were simply caught in her lie. Nothing would have happened if Jessica hadn't lied to start with. Faking allergies to force people to cater to your needs is very disrespectful. I understand that Jessica's mad at you because now, she won't get any respect from this side of the family and will always be seen as the liar. But it's all on her. She played a stupid game, she won a stupid prize. Faking allergies to force people to cater to your needs is very disrespectful. And it makes things so difficult for people who do have them. My best friend is allergic to garlic, hot peppers, strawberries, basil, rice, all sorts of weird stuff. When people fake allergies and get caught at it, it makes the lives of people like my friend more dangerous. Yep, I have major and weird food allergies. The number of times people have decided that because Joe Blow is faking, I must be too, have been insane. So do I. I'm allergic to nightshade. I had a waitress hide a small piece of tomato in my food once. It sent me into anaphylaxis in front of my small children. Jessica lied to your mom to avoid all that curry stuff. Brother blamed you for gossiping? You answered your mom's honest conversation about how she was trying to do the right kind of cooking for Jessica. Your mom sounds great. Poor woman to have Jessica for a possible future daughter-in-law. Yeah, mom's awesome. That's part of the reason this is so annoying. If Jessica just said, hey, I don't care for Indian food, mom would still have made her something else. She just wouldn't have had to go to the effort of preparing separate sanitized work surfaces and what have you. She could have just wiped things down as normal between prep. I'm glad you recognize how awesome your mom is. I would give my non-existent left nut for an in-law who would go that far to accommodate our food allergies. Next story. Why 53 female is not okay with me 55 male paying for part of my ex-wife's 55 female daughter's 27 female wedding. My ex-wife and I were high school sweethearts and married as soon as we graduated. We stayed together for 5 years and had a daughter. We'll call her Kara. The relationship wasn't working, so we split, and my ex came out as a lesbian. My ex later had another daughter, Hannah, via donor, and I ended up becoming a father to Hannah. My ex didn't ask me to. We were on very friendly terms and already co-parenting Kara, so it came naturally. I met my now wife 3 years later, and she was very understanding of the situation and took the role of stepmother to both kids. We also have a son. Hannah's getting married next year, and my ex and her partner and I will all be paying for the wedding. We talked about this before, including my wife, and everyone was fine with it. But now my wife tells me she doesn't like the idea of me paying for the wedding of a child who isn't really mine. She thinks that the money should go towards our son's education instead. I already saved some money for our son that should cover him for a couple of semesters. He can always work part-time or apply for financial aid as well. Still, my wife is upset and thinks I've taken care of her enough, and it's time to basically exit her life. I'm shocked because she seemed to absolutely adore Hannah, but I guess she never really considered her family. She made it known that she wouldn't care if it was Kara because she's my actual blood daughter. But I consider Hannah my daughter, and my ex's partner has also been a parent to Kara, including financially despite no relation, so it isn't one-sided. Edit. I'm putting in $1,200, and so is my ex and her partner. The money is coming from my separate account. Any other expenses will be covered by Hannah and her fiancé. They aren't having anything extravagant, and I have way more saved for my son. If him or Kara gets married, I will put in for them too. Now for the comments. All of this over $1,200? I thought it was like $25,000 since she wanted you to use it for your son's education. Just give the money and move on. Using it for their son's education was really just a lame excuse. She just doesn't want her husband to pay anything because she isn't blood. Opie's wife sounds awful. Agreed. He sounds like a wonderful man being there for his kids, and a wife sounds bitter and hateful. Blood makes you related. Loyalty makes you family. Hey Opie, it's $1,200 and your daughter's big day. I'd say pay for it out of your personal account. I'm so glad for the sanity check, because the comment section looked very different an hour ago, and I wondered if I was legit going crazy. He had an established relationship with Hannah before he met his wife. She knew he parented her and considered her his. She agreed to marry him knowing this. She co-parented Hannah. Here's the deal. Hannah is your daughter. Blood doesn't mean much. Being present and involved does. This was established before you were even married. Therefore, helping with her wedding is not only acceptable, but absolutely appropriate as you are her father. I adopted my daughter and have 2 boys of my own, and I love her as much as my boys. Well, probably more because daughters always hold a special place in a father's heart. I think you need to have a candid talk with your wife about this, and how important it is for you. Now for the last story. I feel like my female friends are hitting on my boyfriend, and I don't know how to address it. My boyfriend, 31 male, and I, 24 female, live together, and for the last 7 months have also worked in the same place of employment. We don't work closely, but other employees are aware we are dating because we arrive and leave together, and typically take lunch breaks together. For background information, I am very introverted. I find it incredibly difficult to make friends. I haven't had any friends for a few years now, especially with COVID. Recently, 2 girls with whom I frequently work with started chatting with me from time to time. I don't know their ages, but I think they're closer to my boyfriend's age than mine. They asked the other day if I wanted to hang out with them, and I was so excited. They suggested a movie night, and I offered to host but explained that my boyfriend would be home. They said this was fine, and we set a time and date. They are currently still over, and we're watching a movie. I bought wine and made a few baked goods and also bought some chips. I just wanted to have a good time. When they arrived, they were friendly, but when my boyfriend came to watch the movie with us, they started to ignore me. The girl beside me sneezed and accidentally spilled her wine in my lap. She apologized, but it did feel intentional. I left it off and went to get changed. When I came back, both girls had moved to the same couch as my boyfriend. One was whispering something to him and the other was touching his arm, acting afraid. We were watching a scary movie. My boyfriend looked mildly uncomfortable and was sitting forward in his seat. When they saw me return, the girl stopped and kept watching the movie, but didn't move. I sat on the couch I was on initially, and my boyfriend moved to sit with me. Both girls followed and sat beside him. Nothing more really happened. The movie's almost over, but they've asked to sleep over. They've both had wine, and I don't want to force them to leave if they're intoxicated, but everything that happened made me so uncomfortable. I thought they just wanted to be my friends, but now I don't know. Am I being oversensitive? I don't even know anymore. No, you're not. That is super inappropriate. I would ask them to leave. It's 2021, they can call an Uber. I would talk to your boyfriend too. He clearly wasn't okay with it, but just to be on the same page. But in no way are you being sensitive. Honestly, I would have asked them to leave the second I saw that. Just the fact that they changed seats twice to be close to him, super prick move. I wonder if them suddenly wanting to hang out with Opie coincided with them seeing her boyfriend for the first time. I wouldn't be shocked. I actually had the same thought after reading a few comments saying Opie is basically crazy, that no one acts like this. I, for one, am not shocked women and men alike have no respect anymore, and a lot of young women take pride in getting a taken man. Yeah, I mean, it's a challenge. Any girl can get a single guy these days if they know what they're doing. A taken guy, however, is more of a challenge because they aren't just gonna throw themselves at you. My boyfriend looked mildly uncomfortable and was sitting forward in his seat. My boyfriend moved to sit with me. He is a proper fella. Good for him. I don't want to force them to leave. Time to put on your big girl pants. You didn't invite them to a sleepover. If you let them walk over you on this, they're just going to amp up their attempts at your boyfriend. You'd expect him to handle it where it's his friends behaving this way to you. Put your foot down. Then apologize to him, tell him you love him and you won't put him in that position again. Trust me, that's going to make him love and respect you even more. You're definitely not being oversensitive whatsoever. I would be 100% uncomfortable myself, and the fact that your boyfriend was uncomfortable too shows that this isn't just nothing. I would personally speak to them and say that what they did made both of you feel uncomfortable, and that type of behavior cannot continue if they want their friendship with you to continue also. If they get upset and blame you in any way, take that as a response and don't entertain them anymore. If they don't say anything, take that as a response also and don't entertain them. Hopefully they'll understand your boundaries, but if not, it's not the end of the world. I don't have many friends myself. It is important to remember that your self-worth doesn't reflect on how many friends you have. As long as you enjoy your own company, that's all that matters. Am I the a-hole for not sharing my success with others? I've thought about creating my own finance blog for 3 years. Everything was tentative, but I eventually took the leap and created my blog. I put hours into the infrastructure, design, and posts. I'm so passionate about blogging, and finance is such a niche topic that I never thought I would succeed. 2 years later, I'm able to live off of the money I'm making from my blog, and I'm making more from my blog than I have from any job I've ever had. In the early stages, I always sent my BFF my blog posts to not only just share my posts with her, but to even ask suggestions about how I can improve. I also thought about potentially hiring her one day if she were interested. They were never long posts, but she never read them. She just wasn't interested, so I stopped sending them to her. She started noticing minor lifestyle changes, such as buying a home I've always rented, and she asked me how I could afford it. She doesn't know how much money I make, but she knows that I blog full-time now, and she now seems interested in my blogs, asking to read them. She also asked to borrow money to replace the engine in her car. I told her I didn't have the money. I knew she couldn't pay me back, and she said, "You blog about finance and you were good with money. How do you not have the money?" I figured you'd help a friend in a time of need since I would do the same for you if I had it. Now for the top comments. Not today, Hull. I would do the same for you. But she had a chance to help you with her time and she didn't. Time and money are both valuable resources. She did not see fit to spend her resources on you, so why spend yours on her? Also, it is quite cringe-worthy that she'll ask how come you can't lend her money since you're a finance wizard. Well, lady, because I don't make stupid decisions with my money, such as lending it to someone that chances are won't pay me back. Lol, here is a financial tip. Don't lend money to deadbeats. I don't ever lend money. If someone asks me for money, I always gift it to them. Not a good idea to do business with a friend. If I fully trust a person, maybe we can talk about a loan. Otherwise, I only gift. Not Dayhal. She would do the same for you. She didn't even read your blog posts. She just wants to use you. Not Dayhal. User alert. She only finally gave your blog attention when it would benefit her. Okay, but the real question, what's the blog? This sounds like something I need in my life. Not Dayhal. I hate people like this. The ones who are only interested after seeing the fruits of your labor. Couldn't be bothered in the beginning, but now that the success is rolling in, shake my head. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for uninviting my friend for my engagement party? I, 26 female, recently got engaged to one of my old high school crushes. He was a foreign exchange student from Brazil. Last year, due to the state of things, I got stuck there during a business-related trip and met up with him, Gio, as we stayed in contact after he went back home. Things kicked off romantically, and we've been together since. I haven't gotten around to explain the relationship in full to our friends, just that I met someone and we're engaged. I'll be coming home soon and recently got into the details of our relationship with my friends. One of my friends, Anya, started talking about our old Brazilian exchange program and how she always liked Gio and hoped she'd get to see him when she came down for the wedding. She called him the one that got away and said she wished she took Portuguese so she could have gotten close to him. She really seemed enamored, and I couldn't bring myself to break her heart since she spoke so highly of him. However, yesterday I broke the news that Gio was my fiancé, and she seemed a bit off. She seemed even more eager to meet him and started DMing him on Instagram. The messages weren't overtly flirty, but they were a bit odd. She asked him if he was sure about me and if he gave himself enough time to explore. I'm really uncomfortable and have sent her a text and inviting her from the party. She called me a stuck-up and an a-hole for putting my jealousy before our friendship. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. She was the one who let jealousy ruin your friendship. Don't invite her back out of guilt or anything else. It's one thing to have a crush on someone, but to actively try to dismantle an engagement and then act like a victim is repulsive. I mean, hands down, she's trying to sabotage the relationship. Why would you want someone like that at your engagement party or even wedding? She called me stuck-up and an a-hole for putting my jealousy before our friendship. No, she put her desire for Gio over your friendship. Her messages to Gio were uncalled for. Kudos to him for letting you know. Her behavior made your decision justified. It's your party. You shouldn't have to be uncomfortable around one of your friends. Not the a-hole. No, you put your relationship with your partner Gio before your friendship with her, especially since she seems to try to become a wedge between you. Selfish? Yep. Justified? Also yep. Not the a-hole. I'm not even sure you could call it selfish, considering how uncomfortable Gio might be with this woman hitting on him at his own engagement party. I'd expect my husband to disinvite someone who was acting like a creep toward me to any event, let alone our own engagement party. Although I do think this whole situation is incredibly weird, why did no one know about Gio until now? Is OP rushing into things? It's just odd. We were all busy. The time was never right to go into details. Someone was sick, someone dies, someone got evicted, someone was pregnant, etc. It was never the right time to go. This is Gio. Next story. Am I the a-hole because I told my friend that she deserved to be fired? My friend and I met when we worked together. She was one of the first people to talk to me when I started and introduced me to other people that worked there. Well, I'm not sure what happened, but she started to get lazy. Show up late, stand around and talk. Which is whatever, but when other people have to pick up your slack, it's BS. When I was put on teams with her, other people would complain about her not pulling her weight. There were times we were trying to get finished and off early, and she still had social hour and caused us to stay till regular time or even late. She was being talked to by management repeatedly. She'd tell me she got yelled at. Their big thing was her being consistently late. I told her to leave earlier. Well, I have to drive all the way from. It's a long drive. I tried helping her improve with other things they coached her on, but she had an excuse for everything. This went on a year or so, and I found a better job and left. She kept asking me to get her a job there, but since I knew how she was, I told her they weren't hiring. We'd hang out, and it was a lot easier not working with her. She'd still vent, but I wasn't on the other side of it, so I could be more objective and less annoyed. This has been 2 years. She called me the other day and said she got fired. I said I was sorry to hear that, but places are hiring and she can bounce back. She started going on and on about how this was out of the blue and they never warned her. I bit my tongue. I'm a supervisor now, so she wanted my opinion if I thought she deserved to be fired. I kept dodging the question and saying, I don't know, I'm not there anymore. She said, no, just be honest. What do you think? You worked there. I didn't want to, but I knew she wouldn't let it go, so I said, honestly, no offense, but yeah, they warned you like 100 times. I even tried telling you how to improve, but you wouldn't listen. She said I was harsh and should talk to me later. Am I the a-hole? I probably am, but don't tell people to be honest when you don't want the truth. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. You tried to be polite and she kept pushing you, so you gave her an honest answer about her job performance. She doesn't need to be cuddled. She needs to wake up and work on her performance and attitude. It may sting, but she sounds like she had it coming. Why else would she try to get another job? I bet she knew she was no longer able to get away with stuff. She needed to be dealt the harsh reality that if she gets lazy and irresponsible with her work, she's gonna be canned. Hopefully, she learns from this since that would be good for her. So true. So many people ask for an honest opinion, but when they tell an honest answer, they will start acting like you were an a-hole or you were so harsh. A. She was warned 100 times before it happened. B. She asked a question and wouldn't let go when you said you didn't answer. Don't ask a question, get an answer, then go all surprised Pikachu face. She is for sure the a-hole. Let her be salty all she wants. You are not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. She asked you to be honest, and so you were. She could have taken your honesty and used it to improve herself, but she decided not to go that route, so it's not on you. Not the a-hole. She's got to do better at her next gig, and if you lie, that won't help. Yeah, she was prodding because she knew but needed to hear it from someone else to confirm. Insisted on hearing it from someone else to confirm, then got mad at them for it. Sometimes I wonder if people like this do it because they do know, and they do need to hear, but they can't stand knowing they did it to themselves. So they push this kind of thing just to have someone else to get mad at. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for disinviting a co-worker for perpetually spoiling things? Almost every Friday, my co-workers and I will go out and get drinks and socialize. More often than not, it's an open invitation for the entire office, and even people outside of our team will join. We typically have a great time, but only when Logan, 20s male, doesn't show. Logan means well, but is easily excitable and engages people in conversations they are not interested in. The worst of this behavior has to do with spoiling movies, shows, games, etc. A few weeks ago, I mentioned that I had tickets to see the new Mortal Kombat movie over the weekend. Logan lit it up and immediately responded, "You love the scene where, spoiler, happens and when, spoiler, shows up." I was bummed and walked away without continuing the conversation. Later that same night, Amy, another co-worker, was discussing a TV show she was a few episodes behind in. Logan blurts out, "I can't believe that beloved character dies in episode whatever number." Amy, who had obviously not yet watched it, went silent and turned away. Logan laughed and said, "I just can't help it. I get too excited." None of us were amused. A few days later, in our team-only group chat, someone brought up Logan's tendency to spoil things and admitted that they wished he weren't invited to outings because of it. Multiple people agreed and began to list everything Logan had spoiled for them. With this in mind, I didn't add Logan to the email invite for the next week's hangout. He noticed he never got an invite and began to ask around. As I was the one who'd written the email, he was eventually directed to me. He pulled me aside as I left for lunch and let me know I excluded him by mistake. Rather than try and play it off, I just told him the truth, that the fact he spoils everything is obnoxious and rude. I told him that joining conversations just to spoil things is bad enough, but he also starts conversations with spoilers. Logan was immediately defensive, claiming it's not his fault we're slow to watch, /play, etc. and that he's just making conversation. I said that if he swore he'd be more conscious about this habit, that he could join us that Friday. He came, and lo and behold, spoiled the plot of a movie I wanted to see in theaters. Out of frustration, I called him a prick and told him that this is exactly why no one socializes with him. He left soon after, and even though I said what everyone was thinking, I felt like an a-hole. Am I the a-hole? Edit. A few weeks ago, we had lunch catered and all joined in the break room. A coworker had brought a book to read during lunch, and Logan saw the cover, pulled up the Wikipedia, and read the entire synopsis aloud, including the big twist ending. I asked him why he would do that, and he responded, "Why not?" Not the a-hole. That is infuriating, and he deserves to be called out. If the group of people don't want him there, don't invite him. I would recommend planning these outings on your own time, such as at home during your lunch, and writing from your personal email to everyone's personal emails. This is to protect yourself if he goes to HR for bullying/exclusion. The job can't comment on anything done in your time and with your property. Absolutely seconding the suggestion to protect yourself HR-wise. But you're absolutely not the a-hole. This dude sounds obnoxious. Deliberately obnoxious, per the Wikipedia stunt with a book. This guy's dying to learn the consequences of his own actions. Yep, he absolutely knows what he's doing, and is doing it deliberately. Sounds like he's pretty much asking to be uninvited at this point. His little "but I'm just so excited" act is pathetic, bordering on hilariously pathetic. Please tell him the next time he starts his whining that literally thousands of people know what he's all about and think he's a weapons-grade stain on the underwear of humanity. Not the a-hole. He absolutely can control his behavior. He chooses not to. He is deriving pleasure from spoiling things for everyone else. He can learn to control himself, or he can be excluded. The choices really do seem simple. Agreed. This isn't accidental behavior. It's intentional behavior that he has been asked to stop. So he is choosing to spoil and also choosing to do something that he knows is upsetting to others. Especially the situation mentioned in the edit. It wasn't his excuse of a "I'm too excited not to share" situation, because he had to Google the book to ruin it. I wouldn't want to spend any time with someone like that either. Not the a-hole. I think you're honest and decent to explain it and give him a chance. He blew it, but you tried. I have a friend like that, and as soon as they kick off, I'd cover my ears yelling "la la la" in their face. Took a few times, but they got it. This was one-on-one convos. Imagine a whole work group yelling that in your face with their hands on their ears. Haha, the insanity.
Update. My ex divorced me and wants to be together again after 4 years. Original post. I'm 46 female, and my ex-husband is 45. We were college sweethearts and married at 26. Right before we got married, I gave birth to a beautiful daughter who's now 21 years old. I love both of them dearly, and we've been a happy family for about 16 years before everything went down. Our only problem was my ex's mother. She always had a strong dislike for me as she never thought I was good enough for her baby boy. We had many fights, and my ex cut contact with her after the wedding when she tried wearing white to it. We had many encounters with her years after that, sending us gifts for my daughter and purposely trying to get us to contact her again, to seeing her outside our house. Then 4 years ago, I got home from work to see my ex and his mom together on the couch. My ex was on the verge of tears, yelling and calling me a cheater. I tried to explain I didn't, but his mother supposedly had proof, saying she saw me with another man out in a restaurant together. I'm very faithful and loyal, but he refused to hear me out. We got into a big argument before he packed up and left to stay with his mother. When my daughter got home from a friend's house, she too started blaming me when she found out from her dad. She went to live with her dad while he sent out divorce papers. It took about a year before it was finalized. He got custody of her and I was granted visitation rights, but she never wanted to see me. It took a long time to move on. I sought therapy and fell into a huge depression. I knew my ex's mother made it up to tear us apart, but I can't believe he listened to her so carelessly. I don't blame my daughter, but it still hurts. I moved out of the house to allow my ex and my daughter to live there. I ended up moving to a small apartment. It's been 4 years, and I started to finally be happy again. I made new friends, we had so much fun, and I got a promotion at work. I still missed my family, my daughter, but I couldn't do anything about it. Now 2 days ago, my daughter called me. It's been 4 years since I've last seen or heard from her. She said that my ex's mother admitted to lying. She said that my ex got a new girlfriend and his mother was furious, claiming he shouldn't have won after all the trouble she did to get rid of me. They got into a heated fight before he kicked his mom out. I nearly wanted to cry. I thought she would never admit it, and now I'm hearing it from my daughter. She asked to meet up and apologize so many times, and I told her we could meet tomorrow. So yesterday I met her at a restaurant, but she brought along my ex, something she never mentioned, nor have I agreed upon. He was apologizing, saying how much he missed me and that he dumped his girlfriend. He wanted us to be together again. I excused myself and left them there. I got back home to lots of phone calls from my daughter and text messages from her. She wanted us to talk, and she called me in a hole for leaving. I told her I wasn't comfortable and that she needed to understand. I had to mute my phone and put it down for a bit. I haven't responded yet, and I'm not sure what to do. I love her, but I can't talk to her with him there, not yet anyways. It feels so fast. I wanted to do it one-on-one. I'm deeply hurt and crying as I'm typing this. I don't know what to do. Edit. I appreciate the love and support. However, I didn't make it clear about my daughter's custody. Her opinion mattered in court since she was 17 during the divorce. Although the divorce was about me allegedly cheating, my ex and I agreed to keep that apart from the actual divorcing process, split what we needed to split, and let our daughter choose who she wants to be with. She wanted to live with her dad, and I agreed. She was strongly adamant about not seeing me, so I allowed my ex to have full custody, leaving me with visitations. Not only that, I needed to find an apartment. I had to move out of the house. I was living off couch to couch in my relatives' homes. I didn't have space for her, and my ex mentioned it in court. It was the main reason why she was granted to stay with her father. I was under stress and I was not mentally well, so I signed off my rights. I looked like a mess in court too. There was also a lot more going on during the time. Now for the top advice before reading the updates. First of all, take all the time you need. You don't have to follow their timeline. It's perfectly alright to write back, "Please give me some time and space to work through everything. I'll contact you when I'm ready," and then mute them. You could also contact a therapist or a counselor to have an impartial person to talk to, or friends you know to be clear-headed. You don't have to go through this alone, and you don't have to react immediately. By the way, your daughter is stomping over your boundaries. She didn't tell you that your ex would be there, thus setting you up for an ambush. You might have chosen not to meet her had you known that your ex would be present. She withheld that information and took that choice away. You understandably left because you were overwhelmed, and she is calling you an a-hole and bombarding you with texts. Sorry, that behavior is unacceptable, regardless of her motivation. Both she and her ex seem to think that they can snap their fingers, and they can just start where everyone left off, with you immediately forgetting the past and the hurt you've endured. You should be your first priority, because they won't make you their first priority. So please take care, and make sure that you make use of your support network. Please feel hugged, and I wish you all the best. I really appreciate seeing this. You're right. She crossed boundaries and done some pretty stupid decisions. Emotions are running high, and it may take a bit for things to calm down. I'm preparing a text to send to my daughter about going no contact, unless she apologizes and handles it like an adult. I'm willing to hear her side, but not her acting like a jerk or involving anyone besides herself. I also contacted my therapist, and I'll be seeing her on Wednesday. Until then, I probably won't have an update unless something happens within the messages. I'm still really heartbroken, and I'm scared about how she is going to react to my message. I have my friends and my parents who are on my side if anything happens. They don't know where I live anyway, so I know I'm safe and I can take my time. Lol, why are they acting as if they're doing you a favor or forgiving you for something you didn't do? And cool, let's go back together. Are they serious? The daughter calling her mother an a-hole for leaving, while she didn't even contacted her for 4 years or even try to hear her out, baffles me. Like WTF. Wait, your daughter called you an a-hole because you left after she brought your ex-husband with her without letting you know. She is the a-hole, and your ex too. He easily believed his mother lies after cutting contact with her and knowing what she's capable of. They are both bad for not hearing you out, treating you like you are the worst, and now trying to be all-loving family again. They caused you so much pain and probably trauma, but it seems like they don't care. Now for the first update. I'm crying again. I went to text my daughter about boundaries and building trust again, and she said there was someone else involved without my knowledge during the divorce. My ex's mother got into another fight over the phone with him earlier today and admitted to paying an ex-friend, someone she was fond of, to lie directly in my husband's face and say he was the one I cheated on with. He did it for money. My daughter basically gave me the silent treatment during the divorce, so she never told me. Neither did my ex's mom for obvious reasons. Now, why wouldn't my ex mention it? Because he thought I would just deny it, which I would since I didn't do it. I bet he was so confident in himself too. I hate them both. Like mother like son, apparently. I can't believe I loved him. He didn't even try to hear my side. I even tried giving my phone to prove my text messages were innocent, and he went, nope. I got a verbal confession from said ex-friend, but I won't tell you because communication does not exist. I am beyond furious. Who does that? Pay someone to purposely cause a strain in a healthy relationship. Absolutely ridiculous. I hope your daughter directs the anger she had for you at your mother-in-law. Unlikely. That anger has been directed at the mother all these years. Probably dissipated by now. Plus, the way grandmother's mere word was enough, there's an obvious bias in that direction. Take your time, it's okay. I would reach out to friends and family and spend your evening with people so you're not alone. They disappeared for 4 years. Your daughter can wait 48 hours or a week for a response from you. I would strongly recommend, if you want to arrange a meeting with your daughter, that the next meeting being an invitation to an appointment with a mediator or family therapist, with the condition that if she brings her dad to it, you will go no contact with her. It's a session for her and you only. And in the session, you can try and explain to her how far she crossed the line by ambushing you with her dad, and why this reconciliation will only work if she stays out of your romantic life and accepts her parents are divorced because her dad messed up, and that's how it's going to stay. I'm sorry you're going through this. Definitely with a mediator in a neutral location. So sorry OP, that level of betrayal is utterly heartbreaking. Now for the second update. Hi. Within the past 2 days, a lot of stuff came out, and I'm beat. First of all, thank you for the support and advice. There were so many, but I decided to follow the ones I thought fit best for me and my daughter. In the last post, I mentioned in the comments about an update. 2 days ago, I texted my daughter to set some boundaries after the ambush attack at the restaurant. As we were talking, she mentioned new information about my ex and why he chose his mother's side over me. Earlier that morning, his mother confessed that she had paid an ex-friend of ours to lie directly in my ex-husband's face, claiming to be my affair partner. Mind you, I never had cheated in the first place, but my ex took that as solid evidence and divorced me because of it. His mother is a master manipulator and had him wrapped around her finger throughout his childhood, so I'm not surprised why he'd take her side. He didn't know that the confession was fake until a few days ago. I wasn't even aware of the entire thing for 4 years. No one had brought it up to me. My daughter gave me the silent treatment. My ex's mother obviously wouldn't tell a thing to me and probably told my ex-husband to keep quiet and to only focus on the divorce. I'm still really saddened, but everything makes sense. I was so mad at him for leaving me over her word, but it was much more than that. Besides that, I decided to give my daughter another chance. She will not know where I live or any personal information to indicate where I am. I'm keeping low contact on her. I don't want her spreading it to her father or other people. I'll only show up during important events. Graduation, weddings, etc. I know my ex-husband will also attend. If that's the case, then so be it. I requested my daughter to put her father on the phone. He, of course, apologized so many times, and hoped we could have another chance as well. He said he'd do anything to make it up and that he loves me. I said no. I explained that I was keeping him no contact, and that I was heartbroken when he didn't communicate to me about the cheating allegations, and only assumed that I was practically homeless for a short time and needed to see a therapist to help move on, that I wanted to be left alone, and currently not interested in another relationship. Then, I gave him a new email in case of emergencies directly involving our daughter. Anything else I will discard. That was the only time I spoke to him in the past 2 days. I've been talking to my daughter, setting boundaries and whatnot. She gave small updates about what was going on with her side. They went no contact with my ex's mother, so that's good. I told her never to contact that woman again. She also apologized about her behavior at the restaurant, and that it won't happen again. I understand that emotions were running high and everyone was tensed, so I forgave her. I still really love her, mistakes can happen. Now, a lot of you said to sue my ex's mother. I spoke to my therapist about it earlier today, and she said it wasn't wise to do so. It'll put more emotional distress on me, and that I might have to see her again and may relapse into a depressive state. I really don't want that. I don't want anything to do with that woman again. All I want to do is focus on myself and on my daughter. I want to rebuild our relationship, and it will be ruined if I do something as drastic as suing my ex's mother. I won't be pressing charges unless something else happens to the point where police are involved. That would be different. Other than that, I'm taking a break. My daughter can text me anytime she wants, but I did say that I may not always reply since I want to remain low contact as of now. Thank you so much for the support and love. I can't express how grateful I am. I'm sorry I haven't replied to any of the comments. There was so much and it was very overwhelming. This may be my last ever post on this account unless something happens in the near future. You guys are amazing. Thank you. Best of luck to you, OP. I currently can't think of a word to describe how obnoxiously terrible what your ex's mom did to you was, followed by what your ex and daughter did to you after that. Just know that I think you are amazingly strong. Your ex-mother-in-law's bad karma is coming back around, and hopefully she'll get what she deserves even without you suing her. I truly hope you continue to improve your mental health and live happily ever after. I originally wasn't going to say anything, but I would now like to mention that my daughter texted me saying she found my original post through TikTok. I have a feeling she won't be turning against me a second time law. She despises her gram now. You should grab a box, put milk and eggs in it, leave it outside for a week, shake it hard, then mail it to his mom for her to open. Add fish and tomatoes too. Those are the 4 worst smelling items that spoil. I am very sorry for all that you have been through. You are handling this extremely well and setting boundaries to protect yourself. I just have to say, I wonder how this ex-friend lives with himself knowing he played such a huge role in ending your marriage. He's an addict. I'm 100% sure he took that opportunity to buy more drugs. It was the reason why we dropped him, since he would beg us for money, along with other junkie friends he had. He wasn't even that nice either, he was kind of rude. I honestly hope he's miserable. Now for the daughter's post. My mom recently made 2 posts about our family under the title, "My ex divorced me and now he wants to be together again after 4 years." I'm their 21-year-old daughter, and I'm going to explain my side of things. There were a lot of things she neglected to say on her part. This is how I interpreted what happened on my side, since y'all are quick to blame. 5 years ago when I was 16, my dad called me. He said he was at his mom's house and that I needed to pack my things so he could pick me up. He told me that my mom had cheated on him and now he was going to divorce her, so I did exactly as I was told. I was really mad at mom for doing such a thing. I thought they were inseparable. I was surprised. I thought they loved each other, and when mom was accused of cheating, I resented her, I yelled at her, I called her really hurtful things that I regret saying, then I left to stay with dad. The entire time I refused to talk to mom during the divorce. I really hated her. I truly did. During the time, I was with dad and my grandma. I met her a couple times and my mom openly hated on her, but I didn't know why. She seemed sweet and supportive, helping my dad get through all this. She bought me presents and let me live under her roof. She was a stereotypical loving grandma. Mom ended up moving out so we can have the place back. In court, I favored my dad's side and it was approved. I refused to contact my mom. It was like she didn't even try to fight to be with me. I was still really angry with her. Dad was crying on some days. He was really stressed and saddened. Mom did too, but I thought it was the guilt of being caught, and now having nowhere to go and being divorced as a consequence. There were a few times where I wanted to call her, shout at her, hate her, but I didn't. For the next 4 years, it was me and dad, and grandma who occasionally visited. She showered me with gifts, always expressing how she finally got to meet her grandbaby. She spoiled me. Dad was still sad for like 3-ish years, before meeting another woman and they started dating. That's when everything turned upside down. Him and grandma would start getting into fights about the new girlfriend. She would threaten to harm herself and call him a pathetic excuse as a son. She knocked stuff over and constantly broke things when she didn't get what she wanted. She even threatened to hurt me sometimes and steal things away from me. Dad hardly ever brought his girlfriend over because of her. Grandma kept visiting almost daily. She was super obsessed over dad and the new girl. Now repeat that for 5 months straight until she snapped. Another fight. Then she confessed. I was in the other room when she screamed about how she did everything to get mom away from him so she could have him all to herself, and now the new girlfriend is stealing him away. That's when I decided to call mom to tell her what happened. I was scared. The next day we agreed to meet at a restaurant. I told dad about it afterwards, and he insisted on coming with me. I wasn't sure at first, but he convinced me to let him come. He was desperate and even broke up with his girlfriend over the phone, so I brought him with me. I didn't tell mom, and when she came and saw us, she was uncomfortable and left after dad was practically begging on his knees. I ended up calling her an a-hole. I was stressed and overwhelmed, and I blurted out something I didn't mean. I get why she left. There was no excuse for my behavior. I started spam calling her and texting her constantly, trying to get a response from her. Some messages weren't nice as I was not thinking properly. Dad was bawling and started saying some depressing thoughts about how he hated himself and that he wished he was dead. I panicked, like what am I supposed to do? The next morning, grandma came to the house while mom was sending me long paragraphs about wanting to have a relationship again, but needing boundaries. The two were arguing downstairs until Grandma admitted to fabricating the affair confession. She paid someone $500 to tell Dad his wife was cheating on her with him. So obviously, I texted Mom about it while Dad kicked Grandma out, screaming that he never wanted to see her again and that it was all her fault. For the next day and a half or so, Mom and I communicated with each other. I apologized to her about my recent behavior. It was super uncalled for, and I do really regret saying those things. At one point, I gave my phone to Dad so the two can talk privately with each other. Mom wants to keep low contact, which I agreed to. Dad was upset that she wouldn't take him back. I learned Mom is seeing a therapist and went to see her earlier today. I haven't seen Grandma after Dad kicked her out. He has been saying she's been trying to call and text him like every hour. Yes, I'm still living with Dad. I'm in community college. It's only half an hour away, so I stay home. I came across Mom's post on TikTok like 3 times. There are some comments about me that I'm really upset about. Do y'all not understand abuse victims? Like WTF. I had to put up with my dad's constant depressing behavior and my grandma's gaslighting, love-bombing tactic. I'm happy to be in contact with my mom. I never contacted her before was because my grandma said negative things about her. I thought Mom was the controlling one. She wasn't. At all. I regret my choices and I'm willing to fix them, and she is willing to give me a chance. You don't know our family. Stop acting like you do.